The following may not contain any hints of wisdom, but it most definitely probably will contain language and subject matter which is not appropriate for all audiences.
Maybe.
All right. Hello, everyone. Thank you once again for joining us on the Low Fact Podcast. Dave and Matt.
And it's wound up being a theme for the week anyway.
What theme is that?
Abandonment of critical thinking.
I suppose.
We didn't talk about the fantasy piece, though.
Well, I don't think anyone really needs to know about that unless you want to talk about the fantasies. I mean,
well, what do you mean by fantasy?
it was interspersed with the critical thinking part. Like, I can go taller. I can get whatever I want.
Oh. See, I was thinking of, when you talk about fantasy, I was thinking of TV and film and romantic endings. Things always working out well.
That's fantastic.
But that's not what you were talking about.
Not necessarily, but, that is an example of fantasy.
But do you think that's a deliberate tactic in order to keep people from thinking critically?
No, I think stories make people feel good.
Oh.
And if you have a story where the hero doesn't overcome or get what they want, then...
Nobody wants to see the story.
Yeah. And, inadvertently that might add fire to the flames of not thinking particularly critically.
But what if you had a storyline that involved
someone
lesson?
Someone slogging it out for years and years and years to end up at middle management and getting canned at 48? I'm pretty sure people wouldn't want to see that story. Let me tell you a story about this kid who was born to, two parents who loved him, but they were just people, so, they didn't do the greatest job in the world. They didn't do the worst. They didn't mess up the kid for life, but, they weren't able to give the kid everything he wanted. The kid ended up going to college, but he had to take out loans and whatnot. And then, the person had to work. And then, they eventually found a spouse who wasn't, supermodel good looking. And, they didn't make super big money, but they made enough money to buy a little house and have a couple of kids of their own. And, they kept working, and they worked hard. They applied themselves. They took vacations, but they never got that big job. They never got the $1 billion job. But, they were going. And they kept going, and they kept going. And then finally, when they were in their late 40s, early 50s, they got canned because, they were too old, quote unquote. So, the company didn't want to pay them that much money because they could pay someone 20 years younger a lot less. Yeah, that's a story I want to see.
It sounds like a true story, though.
Well, it's a story that's playing out millions and millions of times all over the world. But on a different note...
Oh, wait, I gotta go shoot myself.
The topic that I had for today was one that it's near and dear to my heart.
Okay.
Trusting your gut.
Oh.
And this might have to be a couple of episodes because I hate that term.
Why? Your gut's good.
My particular gut is good and big, but I'm
not talking about your physical gut.
The whole trusting your gut thing presupposes something that is not true for many, many, many people.
Because their gut's bad?
At least half, maybe. I don't know. I don't know how big the percentage is, but, first, shouldn't we establish, or shouldn't you establish, that you have good gut? Gut being intuition.
Oh, man. That just reminds me of the people that say I'm an intuitive person.
Right, and I think that for people who believe that intuition is something that is not internal,
okay,
not of them, because intuition isn't something that you can develop.
Why not?
Maybe you think it is. I just don't think it is. I personally believe that intuition is not yours. Intuition is...
What, the universe?
If you want to call it that, but intuition is kind of external.
How can it be external when it's you?
You're tapping in.
Ah.
This external thing is giving you something that you can't quite put your finger on. You can't consciously do it, but you just have this idea. Now, for people who believe that their intuition is their own.
Dangerous then.
I believe that those people have really crappy intuition.
Oh shit.
But the whole trusting your gut thing, I mean, I don't like it because it presupposes that you have good gut. And that's...
The jury's out.
Well, I know that there are a lot of people that don't have good gut and think that they have great gut. And they try to follow their gut. And
Yeah,
really,
and then things don't go well, but then they still think they have a good gut.
well, I think it's because they're confusing gut for desire.
The desire that they have a good gut?
No, the desire that they want to do something. Or the desire that they don't want to do something. And then they rationalize this desire by calling it something other than desire.
They call it intuition. My intuition is telling me this is
Right. What it
good
is.
for me.
Right. So on that same frame, my intuition is telling me that I need to eat a steak tonight.
Pretty good intuition.
But that's just desire.
But maybe you need steak.
No one needs a steak, buddy.
Sure. You always need a steak.
Steak is preferable. Steak is
I feel much better after eating a steak. Always.
steak is luxurious,
Steak makes you physically feel better.
but no one needs a steak.
I'd rather have a steak than rice.
Sure.
Or chicken even.
Okay, but that's my point about the
So
gut
you
thing.
back into shit.
I think a lot of us, if not all of us, do.
And then you say it's your intuition.
Well, I think there's a good chunk of folks that do that. I've seen it kind of happen.
But if you were critically thinking, if you were critically analyzing your choices, then you would realize that that's what you're doing.
Not necessarily.
That you were sitting there and saying everything was intuition when it was really, I don't want to do this or I want to do this. I want to do that.
Oh, in that sense, yeah. Yeah, if you decide to critically look at your gut choices,
And let's say they were bad,
then you might just have bad gut.
but nobody who ever says they're intuitive is... People that think that their intuition comes from within usually would never take a step outside themselves and say objectively, my intuition's bad.
I don't know that that's a good or bad thing. I mean, you're okay.
I think it's probably a bad thing.
You've made a statement. Great.
If things always go bad, then I would think that would be, you should question your intuition.
Well, if things always go bad, then yeah, number one, and this is the critical thinking garden path. If things happen to go in a not so positive way, more of a preponderance of the time, then yeah, the first thing you should look at is, okay, what am I doing that's causing all this? And if you think about it and you think about it honestly and you come up with nothing, then the second thing has to be, okay, well, is there any external forces that there's a commonality that has this happen? And yes or no, and you just keep on thinking. But most people are, oh, my life is such crap. There must be something against me.
Uh-huh.
I don't know. Neither do you. Maybe you should kind of, open up that big brain that you allegedly have and take a look.
Well, your intuition should tell you.
Maybe it has, and you just don't listen to it because you've locked it off in a different corner and let your desire in the driver's seat.
Oh, oy vey.
But yeah, I mean, that's my beef with the whole, and we've talked about it before.
We talked about people who say they're intuitive.
We've talked about the intuitive thing before, and to tell you the truth, the only reason why I brought it up today is because I think that I was bored and had about 20 minutes of free time. So what I like to do in my free time is to read comment sections of various things.
Uh-huh.
And I don't remember what comment section of one thing it was, but I was definitely on the internet. It was definitely, I don't think it was like a cat video or something, but it might have been a news story and it said comments and I was sitting there going, I wonder what people are saying. And there was a whole host of people talking about gut.
Why?
I don't know. I just remember coming back from it going, how do you guys know you guys have good gut in the first place?
I want to know what this news story was where the chicken chain was all about trusting your gut.
Dude, I don't really think it matters what it is. There's after you read something for a while, someone's always talking about trusting your gut.
Really?
Yeah. And that bothers me because what if this person has a horrendous gut?
Well, Instagram is full of quotes about trusting your gut and your intuition.
What if it's terrible?
And I think there's probably people that have made a career.
If your intuition is terrible, then wouldn't the worst thing in the world to have some other person, someone you admire, say, trust your gut? Someone that you don't know. You decided, I wanna emulate this person, and that person says, trust my gut. Better yet, why don't you have an intuitive friend tell you? And if your friend says, oh, of course you've got great gut, then that person's a liar.
Not necessarily.
Yeah.
Well, the question is, if they say trust your gut and then shit goes pear-shaped, are they going to...
Well, no, because here's why they're a liar, right? Human nature being what it is, if they are just as clueless as you are, then they're going to want to have their life and ego stroke just as much as you do. Right?
Yeah.
If that other person has substandard gut compared to yours, then they're never going to want to admit that you have better gut than they do. So they're going to tell you that your gut is,
Shit. Man.
Life is hard, folks.
It is.
But it is bearable because, people have been doing it for thousands of years. Life seems harder now because of a lot of things, and I think it's because we've, kind of given up
Oh, gosh.
critical thinking, embraced fantasy, and embraced the idea that everything I want in life should be given to me when I want it.
Oh.
I want it that way, but on a closing note, when have you appreciated anything that you got that easy? So,
Are you asking me?
no, I said that was a closing note.
Okay.
And there's a big sigh of relief from Matt going, thank God I'm glad you're not asking me because I didn't know what to say.
I'll save it.
Do you want to say it?
I never appreciate shit I've been given.
There you go.